So did Suzu, Kyle Davies, and Three Arrows Capital take hard money from organized crime figures like the MAFIA? It sounds outlandishly crazy, right? Well, the reason I bring this up is because Laura Shin, for those of you who don't know, she is the owner of the Unchained podcast. I've talked about it multiple times on here, and I highly recommend you guys check her podcast out if you haven't. She tweeted out, "Killer NY Mag cover story by Jen Wieczner on 3AC," and then she puts the link to the article, which I'll include down below if you guys want to check out the full article. Definitely a good read. A lot of the information in the article is stuff we've already covered on the channel, but there was a few pieces or sort of dots that get connected through this article, and those are the points that I wanted to go over. Some of them silly, but then again, we also have the hard money piece. So the title of the article is "The Crypto Geniuses Who Vaporized $1 Trillion." So I saw this yesterday on Twitter. I was like, oh, very interesting. And then I saw the next piece of her tweet thread, Laura Shin's, which quotes a section from the article that blew my mind. And it kind of made sense, actually, like as to why things were happening the way they were. So one of the most, and then she puts a wow emoji part, was this. And then I'm going to start at the highlighted piece. "Top crypto executives and investors from the U.S. to the Caribbean to Europe to Singapore believe that 3AC found willing lenders of last resort among organized crime figures." Okay, which means that, as we know, they were asking around for a loan everywhere. They were trying to get loans from everyone. Some of them were successful. They obviously needed more money, and nobody else would give them money at that point. So they turned to organized crime figures, which, as we know, are not people you want to really mess with, especially if you're going to lose all their money. They're probably, again, that doesn't sound like an enjoyable situation. And then after that, it says, "Owing such characters large sums of money could explain why Zhu and Davies have gone into hiding. These are also the kinds of lenders you want to make whole before anyone else, but you may have to route the money through the Caymans," says the former trader 3A business partner. "They paid the MAFIA back," adding, "If you start borrowing from these guys, you must be really desperate." So as we know, a lot of money was moved out of 3AC and it's been going on behind the scenes, which a lot of people thought was shady. And we thought maybe there was a lot of speculation that they were just cashing out money for themselves, or they were using it to still try to buy the yacht, or there was like all this speculation. But what if that money was being cashed out to pay the MAFIA back? What if they were trying to pay these crime figures back real quickly before the whole bankruptcy thing went through? That makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense. It makes sense as to why they would go to Dubai. It also makes sense as to why they wouldn't tune into any of the meetings with video or voice. They want no cues of where they are, not necessarily for the law, but for these organized crime figures. So to me, again, that makes a lot more sense as to why they're doing all these things. They don't give the sources. So when it mentions here top executives and investors and lists out the areas they're from, they don't give the investors or the executives themselves. But again, I would say that New York Magazine, Laura Shin, these are two very good journalists, I guess, that I think would source their information pretty deeply. So I believe that this could be very well the case. This could be why everything has happened the way it has. And again, just the fact that you would even think about involving money from organized crime figures is mind-blowing to me. But again, it does, a lot adds up there. Now, that's not the only piece that we got from this. So we actually found out what they were going to name their boat. So I know a lot of us were maybe curious as to what they were going to name their boat. And to our surprise, the boat's was going to be named Much Wow. There you have it. I know that was like the thing that everybody was waiting for. The name of the boat is Much Wow. Not that creative, honestly. I'm a little disappointed in that name. I would have hoped for something a little bit more exciting. It says here, an inside joke nodding to the cryptocurrency Dogecoin that would both thrill their social media acolytes and be intelligible to all pathetic, poor, quote-unquote, no-coiners out there. Much Wow. Yeah, pretty ridiculous name. I don't think it's that cool. Pretty silly. And we also, okay, so the next piece that we got here is the cost of their Singapore houses. If you remember when Suzu and Kyle spoke to Bloomberg, they mentioned how they were living they tried to make it seem like they were living reserved lifestyles. They weren't spending loads of money like most influencers and people that they knew were, and that they were just really just kind of getting by, is almost the message that they were trying to convey. Well, turns out in September of 2020, Zhu purchased a $20 million mansion known in Singapore as Good Class Bungalow. So again, that's a $20 million house in Singapore under his wife's name. The following year, he bought another one in his daughter's name for $35 million. So again, guys, just like I said in that video, do not let them fool you. They were living perfectly fine lives, okay? These houses were not just like, he says bungalow. These were not just bungalows, okay? These were like full-blown mansions in Singapore. So just, again, keep that in mind. That was something that we had touched on in the other videos, but I didn't have the exact dollar amounts. Now we do. So the next piece is their seed investment. So we kind of knew that 3AC was started by Kyle Davies, Suzu, and their own money, but we didn't necessarily know how much. So it turns out the whole fund was started in 2012 while both were temporarily living in San Francisco. Zhu and Davies pulled together their savings and borrowed money from their parents to scrape together about $1 million in seed funds for 3 Arrows Capital. The name came from the Japanese legend, in which a distinguished daimyo or warlord teaches his son the difference between trying to snap a single arrow effortless and trying to break 3 arrows together impossible. So they started with $1 million. So when you look at it that way, that's quite the feat, right? Like they went from 1 million to multi-billion. So pretty good there. The growth of the fund was obviously amazing. Now, that 1 million, because they talked about how a lot of the money they lost was theirs. Now, it's important that we know that 1 million of their own money turned into high 9 figures. So while, yes, here it looks like, okay, well, only $1 million of it was their money. And technically, yes, only $1 million was injected in 2012. We don't know if they added more money of their own since then. And clearly this $1 million appreciated quite high. So there's that aspect. We don't really know at this point what percentage of the funds lost were their own. And then the last piece is the reason for them going to Dubai. So we kind of already knew this, but it's confirmed in this article that the pair also told Bloomberg they were planning to go to Dubai soon. Their friends say they are already there. The oasis offers a particular advantage, says lawyers. The country has no extradition treaty with either Singapore or the U.S. So that's sort of why they chose Dubai. It sounds like there's no extradition treaty with Singapore or the U.S. So if convicted criminally, they cannot get extradited unless they leave Dubai and head to a country that has extradition. So there's that piece. We kind of already knew that, but again, this article confirms this. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's most of the key takeaways that were like the gaps, I guess I would say, or the dots that needed connected from the videos that we'd already made. Again, if you guys want to read through this entire article, definitely check it out. The link is down below. It's a good article, good read. So definitely recommend checking it out. Guys, if this is your first time to the channel, please like and subscribe. We are looking to grow this channel, and I want to be the very top of the crypto YouTube channel. So I'd love to have you guys along for that journey. With that being said, I will see you guys next time.